Welcome to Metabreakers Podcast, episode 55, starring your three hosts as usual. Warshack, our deck creator, who creates decks that have never existed, but he creates them himself and plays them in front of us every single day. And D-Money, the future best player of Hearthstone ever, our pro player of our trio, and myself, your Demon Hunter specialist. We're here to bring you podcast episode 55, which is an odd number, but a great number. And it's I'm happy to be here with you boys. What's up, D-Money? How's your week been?
I'm not a boy, I'm a man, Draco.
Okay.
Thank you for that introduction. Doing good. It's been a long week, but I feel like I got a lot accomplished, and busy. It's good to be busy. Doing good. How about you,
Warshack? This week, I'll be honest, I don't really remember much of it. I don't know why. I don't think. I mean, I mean, it went past. We made some YouTube stuff. I streamed. We did some stonks, and yeah, it was one of those weeks that kind of just went by really quick, and I can't recall anything of major significance. We played Halo on Friday night, and that was fun, picking the game back up after not like playing it a couple months. Jam a couple games. We're still dropping 30 plus kills in some of the matches that we're playing, so it's good to know that we still got the Halo skills.
So Hearthstone made you drink so much that you can't remember any of it?
Pretty much. Okay. Pretty much, dude. Playing these meme decks against this tier 1 stuff is so hard. Like Big Druid and stuff like that. I mean, one devolving missiles and all my hard work has been fizzled. So it's sad.
Yeah, I think there's become a pretty big divide in Hearthstone with the tier 1 and the meme decks now, because with the way the cards rotated and the cards that existed left, there was some really specific hardcore broken stuff that was left in the game and a lot of fair stuff that was left in the game. And the decks that can do the broken stuff really capitalize on doing it super hardcore. So there's like, mage drawing through their entire deck for free and like discounting the entire deck by, from the first few turns. And then there's, like Paladin where it has just insane amounts of tempo in the beginning, to the point where it's probably not that fun to play meme decks now, because there's this kind of weird imbalance between the things that were scaled back from the rotation and the things that were left over that were kind of broken. I feel. Do you know what I mean by that?
I actually had a similar conversation with my friend last night. I was saying that like the limited card pool makes it so like every class is like, there's a lot of classes that are like basically exploiting the fact that there is a limited card pool. Like with priests, for example, like they discover like the discover pool, like the things that you can discover or get randomly in priest, like that pool is so limited, and it's like only limited to like good playable stuff. So like that's why it's like so obnoxious, and people like Gabby just got number 1 with Miracle Priest, the spell Rally Priest, and like it just makes sense. Like every class is like definitely exposing, like except for Shaman, how like the minimal card pool. It's actually like kind of insane for some things. So that's why I call it like kind of like exploiting. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the fact that you mentioned Gabby is pretty funny, because my THL team has a lot of players that queue into him, and they kept trying to practice this week, and they kept using the word splooge as to what Gabby did to them with Miracle Priest in the middle of their games. They're like, "Yep, Gabby splooged on me on turn 8, and now the game is unwinnable." So basically, like, the concept of Miracle Priest is you play the Dragon Weavers and the Sethics and Rally and a whole bunch of that card that makes your minions have Divine Shields, so they stick on the board. And Gabby is like the number 1 player in a whole bunch of regions in regards to Legend rank. And he kind of does his thing. And what his thing is right now is playing Miracle Priest, and basically the dude is pretty patient and he waits until the perfect moment to take like insane value out of doing like a really, really fast decision making turn where he discounts his entire hand, draws a bunch of cards, and creates a bunch of cards and discounts them and then plays them. And it's actually a pretty hard deck to pilot, but he's this really young player who's super talented and he can splooge. And that's his that's his thing. So good for Gabby, always kicking ass, whether it's not warrior or it's priest now, evidently. But yeah, you can do that with the limited discoverable pool. You can have this insane skill cap and just destroy people because you understand how to exploit that discovery pool, as D-Money was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just splooge. Yeah.
Splooge.
Yeah. So we're talking about Priest being so good. We see it on the bottom of this of the meta right now, but you do have to keep in mind that this is across all ranks and regions, I believe. So that could be why. I mean, people we say it every week. Don't want to. I guess I'll say it again. It's just like Priest. Why not? Priest is like one of those classes that's like maybe people don't want to play it or they don't know how to play it. It's a bit different. It's a bit harder to play than maybe Smooth Brain Paladin that has been that has been going around right now, and like Face Hunter. So understandable why it's at the bottom in the overall meta, but I mean, it's definitely one of the strongest classes in the game still.
It's so good in tournament. So good in tournament. That's like,
yeah, it is.
With a couple ban and like an intelligent matchup decision, Priest is probably the best deck in the game, though it is the bottom of the ladder overall. I think it has the highest skill cap of anything on ladder right now, just because it's all based off of the knowledge of the other decks.
Yeah, what were you gonna say, Warshack?
Since Shaman's right next to Priest, does that make Shaman pretty good too?
Yeah, best class in the game. Yeah.
It's gonna say Shaman's right next to him, man. So
it's Shaman is actually in the right, like that's the right percentage for Shaman. It doesn't matter if it's sorted by all ranks or not. Yeah.
Well, looking at Paladin, Hunter, and Warrior, all with the green win percentage up there. Paladin has remained at the top for I don't know how many Metabreakers podcasts now. I don't know how many months and weeks it has been that Paladin has reigned supreme over the overall win rate of all decks. Hunter has the Face Hunter, which a lot of people are playing. Trampling Rhino is just really good, especially when you buff him up. I've been looking at Hunter for a while now, and Hunter basically used to be a class that would use its, let's say, charge minions or damage, right? And they would point face. And then your opponent would remove those minions, and depending on how much damage they did, you would just basically outlast them. But now, Hunter has, like, multiple cards in the core set that they play now in the Face Hunter that not only killed the opponent's minions, but it also does damage at the same time, which just overall makes Face Hunter even better than what it was previously at. So looking at stuff like the piercing shot. So instead of just doing damage to your opponent's face, you're removing a threat from your opponent, which is stopping basically you from killing their stuff, and they're doing damage to you at the same time. You have the Trampling Rhino, again, killing a minion, doing damage to your opponent at the same time. So I think Face Hunter is like, in a really, really, just card-wise, is in a really good spot because they do what they did before, but they're also now able to kill your opponent's stuff while doing the same thing they normally do. So Face Hunter is pretty ridiculous.
It's actually like, I don't mind playing against Face Hunter as much as in the past. Like the difference is, like, now they actually do kind of fight on board, right? In the past, they just point everything at their face. They just play the card that summons the leper gnomes. They just press their hero power button every turn. Everything is going to the face. But like now, it actually doesn't feel as bad to play against. They are like very flexible, like especially with piercing shot. They can use it on their own minions if they want to, stuff like that. But I actually would rather play against Face Hunter now because it actually seems like it's a little more, I don't know if it's skill intensive or just like the way that you play against it. Like it's just not so linear, I guess. I don't know.
I'll be real. I think the way Blizzard designed Hunter in the last expansion was so awesome because they made this incredibly intricate concept of like the breakpoints with like piercing shot, because piercing shot is 4 mana and it deals 6 damage, and you can use it on your own minions or your opponent's minions, and then the rest of the damage goes to your opponent's face. So it's kind of like this card that we all were like, I don't know if that's good, because it's kind of a control card. It's a late game single target removal, and no one kind of rated it as like, this is a really broken card. But the way it's used, where face hunters can use it on their own minions, can use it on their opponents, it makes everyone have to play the game being conscious of the health line of all the minions on the board, which makes the game a little bit more mental. And I really do appreciate the fact that they created this face hunter genre, especially with Tundering Rhino already existing from the previous expansion, that kind of followed the same criteria, where it's a rush minion that gains damage based off of what it hits. So it makes both players on both sides of the game have to be conscious of the health of all the minions on the board in regards to planning out the maximum damage output of the hunter. And I feel like that's really cool. I would have never, like, as a game developer perspective, I would have never been able to think, let's go in this direction, where people have to care about the health of all the minions on the board. And then we make all the breakpoints perfect for Hunter so that we can create a combative deck that can use those breakpoints to actually to win games fairly. Super cool. I love it. Yeah. I think it's really awesome.
D-Money stating that like Face Hunter doesn't feel bad to play against, but I remember just like an expansion tour ago, like you kind of hated Face Hunter. This Face Aggro Rogue, I know, was a big contender for the Face decks as well. I think one of the reasons that you may like not hate it as much is just because the curve also kind of slowed down a little bit. Before they'd cap out at 3 mana, like Kill Command or the Catapult would be the highest costing card in the deck. But now you have like multiple Trampling Rhinos at 5 mana. You've got multiple like 4 mana 3/4s that discover more value. So the deck feels slower, definitely. Yeah. So you have time to actually like respond to your opponent's stuff. Like Draco said, you get to play around with minions' healths. So if your opponent has like a 1/1 and you have a 5/5, you know, you'd probably trade in to play around dying to a piercing shot, which before you'd never do that. So yeah, there's a couple more intricacies that give players a little bit more favorable matchups based on like knowledge of how like health works out and how the game plan of the hunter has changed. So, I mean, worthy of mention, I think. It's pretty cool. I don't mind Hunter either.
Yeah.
They made Hunter big brain without taking apart the fact that it just goes phase, which is cool. You know, like that's really.
I wouldn't say big brain. I don't want to give too much credit.
I mean, you could be big brain with it if you think about like the minions your opponent's going to play, the trades that are going to happen in advance, and the turns in advance. And that's like what we see like Rami and Grandmasters doing, bringing Hunter himself and succeeding a lot with it, which it's like you can play Hunter at this really, like, I can think 3 turns ahead perspective with the health of the minions and the trades that will happen. And that's super cool. I think that's neat that because Hunter, people used to troll Hunter. You say like, you know, what is that? Well, there's like a song that exists. It's like a classic Hearthstone
the
song.
Smork song.
Yeah, the Smork song where it's like, taste my skill. Yeah, and stream snipe, yes. Rank 1 legend, yes. Like that's like taste my skill, play my beast. But in the end, like they found a way to take that archetype and make it actually to the point where it matters to be preemptive in your thinking, you know, and not just reactive to like, oh, I'm just going to click hero power and play this card and then shoot this in your face and shoot this in your face. Now it's all about health of minions on the board and like breakpoints. That's cool.
The only thing that I see here that's worthy of mention is maybe Warlock before we go on to the top 1K. And that's only because I see like it's ranked 7th here, pretty close to the bottom there. But yet I get matched with the Warlock quite often. I would have to say about 30% of my games are against the same exact Warlock deck. But yet, as we can see, the win rate here is not reflective of how often it occurs. So any idea there?
Just
Yeah, I mean, Demon Hunter does destroy it for sure.
Every
The
single
thing,
game, it's a fun way to adapt and destroy the Warlock in a way that they didn't in picture. Every single game, like they just lose no matter what happens in my hand. It's the most amazing sequence ever. It's like, oh, I guess we're going with this. They lost. Great.
yeah, the thing
You
about
know?
Warlock is that it's really strong, but it does get beat by a lot of things. It had like a lot of decks that are very popular right now and are very strong. They beat the Warlock. But the Warlock deck is really strong and it's fun to play. That's why I think a lot of people want to play it. And like I want to play, I try to play it sometimes too because like I like it. But like you lose to so many things, and there's so many matchups where it just feels like you're doomed from the beginning. And it's I don't know if there needs to be some changes in the deck. I have been toying around with a version that doesn't play Ticketus or Yashraj. And
I
that's
don't think Warlock is good. Do you think Warlock is good?
I think the deck
It's polarized.
overall is powerful. But yeah,
It's
the
polarized.
matchups can be very polarized. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
What do you
like the
think,
best
Rob?
control deck you can play.
Yeah, you think so? You think it's better than
Yeah,
Priest?
you have a control deck that instantly wins against any other control deck.
That is true.
Like
That
so,
If
it
you
does
can
have
get to that point, yes.
yeah, like you have a control deck that between two cards that you can put in the deck that by themselves are already pretty good win you 90% of the time versus other control decks. You won't win, every time. It's Hearthstone, right? But like you literally have two cards in your deck that instantly beat other control decks. And then you also have the ability to win some games versus aggressive decks just with the healing and the board clears and Jiraxis. And granted, you won't win against Demon Hunters every time or almost ever if you're going against Draco because he slays you. But there's other decks that you do stand a chance against. So it's just like, why would you not play? Like, it just sucks because I can't play like a control shaman, a control priest, a control druid because it just loses to Warlock. It's just, it kind of stinks for me. Granted, if I played more aggressive style decks, Warlock's no big deal. If I played Rogue or Demon Hunter, I love to see Warlocks. You just slaughter them. But if you're not playing that, being on the receiving end, playing a control deck, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's like everything in the meta, like the top decks of the meta that like a lot of people are playing, that's what really stomps it the most. And like if the meta was like a bunch of control decks, like control shaman, control priest, then I think Warlock would be a bit more successful. But I mean, it's a lot of paladin, a lot of face hunter, a lot of this buff rush warrior. So those are all tough matchups for Warlock. Like, can it win? Sure, very rarely, but like it's very difficult to be able to deal with all that stuff that's coming at you.
For my singular seat, play as much control Warlock as you want, guys. Whoever tells you it's good,
No.
if you want to listen to them, that's fine. I got to play 7 Inquisitors in a single game because of a control Warlock. I mean, the game was already over from like, the turn that we developed, like the 5th one. But the fact that I got to play 7 Inquisitors in a single game was really special to me. So thank you for, considering the people that want to play Ticketus, give me those moments. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay.
Weird polarized matchups. I don't like that. I honestly, as a design perspective, I think it's probably bad. Like, just
feels
because
bad.
Warlock, yeah, because like it makes these long, horrible feeling games to people that want to play control decks that aren't meta, and then it just like can't be super good because it just stupid loses to other decks. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it loses to these other decks mainly because like you're hurting yourself to get these more cards, and while you're doing that, you're just losing the game. Like you're just strictly losing. But if you can get to that late game, it's very powerful, of course. But we should probably go into the top 1K decks.
Yeah, let's do top 1K because that'll pretty much establish the point we're making.
All right. Tier 1, Rush Warrior, Aggro Paladin, Secret Rogue.
Yeah.
Secret Rogue's awesome. That deck is super good.
Awesome is a word. That's true.
It's. I
Um,
mean, you don't have to like playing against it. I mean, if you're playing it and trying to play it really well, it would probably feel awesome, right?
maybe. I don't know. It's. I mean, Rogue just feels like it's got quite a few cards that are a bit too good.
But D
Like the
Money, Rogue is number 6.
yeah. Rogue is just it's like when I was playing Paladin versus Rogue yesterday, and I was like, this isn't fair. He has like 15 broken cards, and I only have like 10. Like it's really, there's so many cards in there that are just so good. I don't know. It's very frustrating. But I mean, that's the same with like, I mean, these top decks, they're all around the same win percentage. They all got their own kind
Dang.
of yeah.
Yeah, this
But
is.
I mean, there's a lot of class representation. I mean, we scroll down, we see like not that far off on percentage points. There's priest and there's druid and there's hunter. So
Everything but mine and shaman.
I mean, we do see that there's 3 paladin decks within like the first 6, the top 6 there.
Paladin's the
7.
best deck in the game. Have you? I honestly, have you guys played Moonfang Paladin? Have any of you guys played a fucking game of it?
I played it yesterday and I went 80%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that deck it has no secrets. It just uses like minions, and it's probably the best feeling deck I've ever played in Hearthstone. If you guys look up, if you want to play mid-range Paladin, it is literally the best deck in the game. And if you play it perfectly, you will win nonstop. And playing it perfectly, is that hard? No.
I mean, it's also like you just win so quickly.
Yeah,
Like
it's
I
fantastic. You
it's just
basically
so
get to exploit the most broken cards in the game right now. That's
you
like
feel
the
like
game
you're
plan.
just cheating. Yeah, you always have a 1 drop, and if you don't, you have the coin into the crab rider, which is the broken card, which we're gonna go over in a bit. And then you have the hand of a doll. Of course, you have to have hand of a. It's like if you play the deck, you literally have to have it on turn 2. It's just part of the rules, and it just curves out like too well, and it's just
I play
it's
about
really
50
good.
games of it, man. Isn't that horrible? Yeah, and playing it, Hand of a Doll isn't even like the card you even care about at that point. Like, it's more about sticking the minion that you smack with the blessings of authority, or like the blessing of the king, or you just ride off a crab rider. You just latch onto the Murloc boy's
Yep.
back and you take it to victory. Sometimes you just play it on 2 and you wait until you get hit with the blessing of kings, then the blessing of authority, and then you just win. But yeah, it's very dumb. But I think the most broken card, and the reason the entire deck can exist, is Blessings of Authority, because 5 mana give a minion +8/+8 is not fair. Even if they can't hit face that turn.
Yeah,
Like,
there are some
that's
decks that just can't
stupid.
deal with it at some point. If you're not playing like a certain control deck, it's going to be very brutal for you when that comes down. Especially if it comes down on like Moonfang, then good luck.
Yeah,
Um,
and the concept of the deck, right? You play the eggs that are 0/2s, and then your opponent just ignores them the whole game because you're like, I'm not going to give you the Nerubians. I'm not going to give you the 4/4s. And then you wait until turn 5 and you're like, boom, Blessing of Authority on the egg. I'll trade it into the most powerful minion on the board. And now you have to kill like an 8/9 that summons a 4/4, and then the game's over. That's like pretty much the game plan. You put an egg on the board, eventually hit it with a Blessing of Authority, take board, and then your opponent is just screwed. Like, no matter
it's
what.
kind of nostalgic, but it's kind of also sad that it's taking over. But the eggs are really strong. So like playing with the eggs yesterday, like I haven't played with Nerubian Egg in a long time. Like since it's been gone, that Avril Lavigne song. It's been gone for a long time, and it's nice to play with it again. But yeah, those eggs are really strong, especially in this limited card pool. Still really good, and Paladin has all those buffs. You have Conviction, you have Hand of a Doll, Blessing of Kings, Blessing of Authority. So many ways to buff them up. It's really strong. Yeah.
D, do you remember what expansion the egg came from?
Oof, that's a next Ramus.
Yeah, there you go. Good job.
There you go. Let's go.
Uh,
I
the
play
only
this
thing
game
I
a little bit.
the only thing I see here that's pretty cool is Poison Rogue, being bottom of tier 2. I've actually been playing a lot of it just because it reminds me of Kingsbane Rogue or Kingsbane Rogue, and that was a really fun deck, like meme deck before it, I guess, got really good and wild. But back when it was like really bad, it was one of my favorite just joke decks to play. Poison Rogue reminds me of that. And if you look on like the meta like snapshot of like replays, it shows Poison Rogue being like absolute bottom of like tier 4 or tier 5 with like a 32% win rate or something like that. So it's no, seriously, here, I'll pull it up. But it's cool to see it like in tier 2 at like above 50, because that means the deck is semi hard to pilot, right? Because you have everybody playing it and its win rate is 30%, but if you have top 1k and they're having great success with it, that tells you that, you know, good players are using the deck correctly.
I think it's good. I'm saying I don't buy it. Like, I believe you, of course. But I'm saysaying I don't buy it because, like, I think the deck is pretty good.
We've moved up. It is bottom of tier 4 at a 42% win rate here. Hell yeah. It moved up like 3 spots.
It probably does depend on your meta, of course. Like, if you're playing against, like, only Smork decks, then it might be a bit tough. It's probably one of his toughest matchups. But sometimes it can out-Smork the Smork. And the deck is so strong because nobody's running any weapon removal. Like, that's the only deck that you would really run it for at this point, because like Paladin, like if you're playing against Secret Paladin, like now they're swinging and then you're only getting rid of a 1-charge weapon, so it's not even like so good. And the new Smooth Brain Paladin kind of thing, like it has like a couple charges on these mediocre kind of weapons. You don't really care about getting rid of them too much. So putting an ooze in your deck is just going to be generally bad for your deck. Unless that's one like specific matchup, like that's really it. So it makes sense that like it's actually doing pretty well. And like when I play against it and I'm playing my Control Priest deck, like I have no
feels
shot.
Bad. Yeah,
it's over.
Yeah. If you play against, it's like definitely a control deck destroyer, because like you said, there's no reason to run ooze because weapons aren't popular for the most part. So why would you play a subpar card? But with that deck running, you know, it's not worthy of teching for. But if you don't tech against it, it just kind of takes the game as long as they draw the shank.
Yeah, I'll take a free loss every 20 games. Fine.
It also makes me very happy that you're using Smooth Brain to find Paladin. It brings a Yeah, it brings a smile to my face every time I hear someone say it or someone puts the command in or they reference Smooth Brain. It just makes me so happy.
I don't really ever say it. I never even like heard it until like very recent.
Can you elaborate on the context of Smooth Brain and who you diagnose it to? Because our Paladin major in chat right here is taking a little bit of offense to the fact that we're saying all Paladin players are Smooth Brain. So
no,
why don't you explain where that came from, Warshack?
You want me to pull up? All right. I'm gonna pull it up right here. I'll show the meme, and then I will define the meme within the pretext of which I am talking about. So we will define the meme as told here on Google Images. Pull this up here, and let's take a look. So we have the Smooth Brain, right? This is the Smooth. This is Q&A. Where's the Smooth Brain? Here is the Smooth Brain. We have to define it for what it is. Your brain, bumpy, weird, gross winkles, ugly, thinks equals sad. That's normal brain. But then we have the Paladins, or particular kind of Paladin. We have Paladin brain. It's smooth, no winkles. It's cute, and it can't think, so no sad. So Smooth Brain, normal brain. So
you were supposed to not limit it to just Paladin players.
No, it's not just Paladins. It's particularly Libram Paladins. Mainly Libram Paladins.
What? That's not even the good one.
Okay, well, that's when this came out. Libram Paladin was the deck that I was calling Smooth Brain.
Okay,
but we can maybe move it to Secret Paladin. We can move it to the new Aggro Paladin. We have to see where it stands. But at the moment...
The meme stuck so well because in the time that you called Paladin players Smooth brain, Libram Paladin was very easy core from like a curve perspective to play. And it was it was S tier. That was like where it came from.
Yeah, I thought
Yes.
I thought it was called Smooth Brain because like the deck curves out so well, so like the curve is like smooth on your brain.
I mean, that's also pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it's really like insulting somebody directly. It's just saying that like
It's just the deck is
it's
easy.
like people.
It's just
It's like people saying like, "Oh, brain dead face hunter," you know, stuff like that. So
yeah, it's not. It's just the deck. The deck is the deck. The class Paladin is just a very easy class, but particularly Libram, which is when I was using the term the most. Like every time we'd go against a Penflinger Libram Paladin, here comes another Smooth Brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yes, crab right.
Paladin's not always easy. There's like OTK. There's intricacies to some of the decks that have happened, you know, like, but yeah, the aggro perspectives when it's S tier are very linear in gameplay. And I do understand where the Smooth Brain made sense.
yeah,
You
like
know?
think about how all these face hunters have felt over the years. Like people saying that they have no brain. Now face hunters actually get to have like some kind of comeback to paladins, and they're like, "Haha, you have a smooth brain."
Yeah.
I'm playing face hunter, but you're smooth brain.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could go into the next thing we got here if we want. The cards, problematic
Yes.
cards.
We've got Crab Rider. I've seen a couple posts of people on Twitter saying a 1-3 stat line would be sufficient. Granted, the fact that this card does have Rush and Wind Fury, two very, very powerful keywords to have on a card.
Yeah, this card is I mean, very powerful keywords. It's fine if it has it. It's just the stats is I mean, 2 mana 1/4. That is Hanar levels, and Hanar is very powerful. Yeah, it's just Rush, Wind Fury, Murloc. Those three things it's got, and it's a 1/4. It's just too good. Everybody I think agrees that it should be a 1/3. It's way premium, like premium everything compared to anything else that exists. I think, like with those similar kind of keywords, I guess.
Everyone's kind of campaigning to make the health on this 3. Right. And
Yeah.
I do believe some 2 mana cards should have 4 health. And I don't believe this should be one of them.
So you agree?
It is Rush Wind Fury. That I get that Hanar is a legendary, right? Hanar is a 1/4 that we can play on 2. That is very hard to remove. Cards that you play into with 4 health are incredibly difficult for your opponent to remove on 4. They need like a specific card in their deck or archetype if they have it, or they need to have a minion stuck.
Yeah.
And that's like a really intense requirement. So the fact that this card has Rush and Wind Fury makes the punish value insane. And
if you coin this card out, there's actually like no way to kill it, by the way, for your opponent on that turn.
Yeah. If it was a 1/3, people would probably still be played, you know? Because in the powerful contexts in which people play it, they'll still be able to gain the same value out of it, but they won't allow, but it'll be easy to answer. It'll be easier to answer, you know? I think making it a 1/3 wouldn't be bad for the game. Because like things like that Moonfang mid-range paladin we were talking about earlier, they would still run this shit because they can still play it on turn 6 with coin and then play this thing, hit it with a Blessing of Authority, clear an entire board, and then threaten their opponent for lethal. That's insane. That shouldn't be possible to stick this and then snowball it so easily from any class that runs above. And the fact that this card is super prevalent and wild, I think also kind of backs up the point of what I'm saying, where it's like the 4 health breakpoint on this is a little bit intense for such a powerful card with Rush that can remove multiple minions in one turn.
And with Hanar, I mean, it's not like he does something immediately either. Like, he's a very powerful card, but when you play him, he doesn't really do anything. He has to live on 2 if you play him then. But this guy, he's same stat line, but he can do something immediately. And I think the fact that he can attack immediately, clear stuff. If your opponent can't deal with them, you kind of just like
Win.
blow them out. Yeah, it's it's pretty good card here. So
Yeah, I did tweet, if you want to link it. If you want to like it, DMoney brand on Twitter. Yeah, I did tweet yesterday. Coin Crab Rider equals GG, and got a lot of likes on that. It seems
There you
pretty
go.
accurate. Because if you coin it and then you play Hand of a Doll, it's actually like it's actually like you have such an advantage. It's crazy. It's a crazy card, but we got some more crazy cards here. What do you got next?
yes, the Ogremancer, the 5 mana 3/7 tech that everybody's putting in to combat rogues and Yeaches and mages.
And it's winning GM. The fact that like the people that play this card in their tertiary decks or their primary decks that get to run it, like they win the game just because they play fucking Ogremancer.
I mean, I don't think this card is broken. I mean, it's definitely broken sometimes when you get it randomly from like Jandis or
Arrow.
something. But
Yeah.
this card, it's just like a solid tech card, and it kind of reminds me of like Cult Neophyte, because Cult Neophyte's really strong right now too in like aggressive decks, because it's really good against certain decks. If you're playing against Paladin, it's not as good because like it's more
I'm gonna be
minion-based,
D-Money in
but-
this circumstance.
Okay.
All right. This
disagree.
card is fucking broken. This should not have 7 health at 5 mana. The things that remove 7 health on board that are not spells do not exist.
Yep.
This card, you play it for 5, you cannot not trigger its shit if your opponent doesn't have shit on the board. Like, it is basically absolutely toxic for anyone who plays against it that doesn't have a minion already on the board, because there's no fucking way to get rid of 7 health. Like, if it was a 5/5, it would still be broken.
Your opponent
should be a
have
3/5
stuff on the board though.
It should be a 3/5. That's all I'm saying.
3/5.
A
There's
3/5.
I was thinking
there's
6.
no way.
To die to a fireball. The fact that it has 7 is like like when I was playing DH, Bladed Lady couldn't kill it. A Marrow Slicer Chaos couldn't kill it. Like Fireball couldn't kill it as the mage. The fact that it lives after you play a card with relatively the same mana cost as it is tough. So I think 6 health on this guy would be fair.
Thing is, like you're paying 5 mana, you're not doing anything. Like your opponent can ignore it.
What do you
in
mean?
certain
You're not doing anything.
circumstances.
You're
What do you
telling your
mean?
opponent
Every
they
time
can't
you
play
a
spells.
spell, it summons a 2/2. You can't ignore it.
I understand how the card works. It doesn't have an immediate. It doesn't have an immediate effect.
It just stops you
Yes.
from playing all of your cards if you need to use spells in your turn.
If you need to use spells, you can just go face. In some circumstances, you can go face. Now, in like a priest deck, it's
You don't
more.
even play the decks that go phase, Dan. What are you talking about?
I've
Don't
pla-
even act like you think like, oh yeah, Ogremancer, let me go phase.
I've
You don't even have
played-
those situations.
I played
play
quite a
control.
bit of mid-range DH recently. I actually like mid-range DH. It's very fun. I did play a little bit of the Paladin yesterday, the aggro Paladin. I played some Rush Warrior as well. I mean, Rush Warrior has an easy time dealing with it, of course, because they are like all minion based. You just play Rush
Yeah.
guys, you kill it. So it's definitely easier for them. But like, of course, it's good against Rogue. It's good against like all these classes that use a lot of spells, like Mage, stuff like that. It's still, you can still deal with it though. It's really not. I don't think it's as broken as you guys are thinking.
You don't think this card should determine people's professional careers in Hearthstone?
I mean, I didn't see the GM example yesterday that you're talking
So
about.
you just weren't watching like the last
I
9 games that it
Conveniently
was
wasn't
played?
watching whatever games you're talking about.
It's in every game. It's in every fucking game.
It's one of the best tech cards right now for sure. Yes. Does it need a nerf? I don't know. If it goes to 6, that's fine. Sure. I'm not against it, but
Make it a 3/5. That's my
Ooh.
that's
there's no way it's becoming a
A
3/5.
3/5 would neuter this thing. Might as well
Good.
cut off one of its heads.
I think you want to play it behind like a Righteous Protector or something. Like it's literally a watchtower. It is a fucking watchtower. Like that is what this card is, but it can also attack.
The OG watch post.
It is a watchtower that can attack. It should not have a 3/7 stat line. Like that is insane. 7 on 5.
I just don't know. I don't know
that?
if it would be good at 3/6 though. That's the
Well,
thing because like
they
it's 5 mana, and your opponent can definitely just
It would
have
be
a
good on
board by then.
3/6.
That's the
It would
thing.
be totally good on 3/6.
There's a lot of times where, as a person who would play this card and has played it sometimes, there's a lot of times where your opponent has an okay board, and it's actually like you just can't play it, or else you're sacrificing so much. But it also kind of has taunt itself in some situations, because if you're playing as priest, for example, it kind of has taunt because if your opponent doesn't clear it, then you can put apotheosis on it, and then it becomes a big deal. But it's circumstantial. It is very powerful. Is it overpowered? I don't know.
Why does it have 7 health?
We can go
Why
to the
does it
next
have
card.
7 health?
well because
That
they
is
basically
insane.
they broke it down to like there's a lot of 5 mana 5/5s, right? Like 5 mana 5/5 is just like the stat line. So if you break this guy into 10 stats, the 3 and the 7, it
Yeah.
is technically has the same as like a 5 mana 5/5. They just distributed it differently. But
That's
with
fair.
this ability that
Better.
puts taunt.
This is
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing that a 3/7 is like 3/7 is much better than a 5/5 for this card.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he makes taunts, and like you don't use this guy to attack. You mainly use him, like you said, as a watchtower, a disruption tool to what are some of the most powerful decks. A lot of the powerful decks right now, it's the spell ratio is like 2 to 3, and a lot of these like demon hunter decks, druid decks, mage decks, rogue decks, there's not the minions that they play are powerful, but the spells that they play normally either generate more minions or generate more cards, which can generate minions. So yeah. Next we have Incanter's
hate it.
Flow.
Incanter's Flow.
Yeah. Incanter's Flow, I mean, it's you play this, you coin this out. It's kind of like Deck of Lunacy now. Now the Deck of Lunacy is fixed a little bit, or it's fixed. Now that it's fixed, now this is the new Deck of Lunacy. You coin it out, you're looking pretty good to win the game. Especially, I mean, if you have 2 of them, then it's just GG on the spot. You might just not play the game out if you're the other person, but you still can if you think you got a shot. Yeah, it's actually just bonkers. I mean, it literally it reduces 25 cards if you play it on turn 1, 20 turn 2. The amount of value that you get for this card is actually insane. I even played it on turn 6 yesterday against the Face Hunter. I played 2 of them, and just having 1 draw card in my hand, it just allows me to draw like 6 cards the next turn for like 0 mana, and clear their whole entire board for 0 mana. And yeah, it's not bad. I think it's I think everybody, a lot of people on Twitter are in agreement that this card should go to 3 mana, and I agree.
It's kind of nuts
thing
that
is-
it discounts the whole deck. It's
Yeah.
like an Emperor
Yeah.
Horizon for the whole deck. That's nuts. It's spell mage.
A little too good.
Yeah.
Well, Mage just has
And-
so much draw, right? So like this card has existed for a while now in Mage, but didn't really see like that much play before, and now we're seeing a lot of it. I think it has to do with when this ability triggers and you're able to, reduce the 20, 25 cards in your deck by 1. You now have Cram Session, right? You've got the Refreshing Spring Water. You have Arcane Intellect. Now you have Runed Orb, which can find more stuff. You have Front of Power, which can find minions that find more stuff. There's just the amount of cycle and draw that Mage has right now can just take advantage of the discounts so fast and so early that, they're playing cards like a Pexis Blast on turn 3 or 4 sometimes, just because they're able to find them that quickly. But before, some of our best draw was just Arcane Intellect, and that was it. Like, that's all the draw Mage had. And at that point, this card was okay, because you couldn't find all of these discounts so fast in the game and just blow out your opponent just because you're playing 7 mana cards on turn 4 or 5, and you're playing multiple of them a turn and also drawing, so you never run out of cards. So I think it's the draw that really makes this card look good. Without draw, this card doesn't get you to where you need to go as fast as it gets you there now.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
draw though. They have
it's-
they have AI, they have cram studies, they have refreshing spring water, which
Yeah,
is
this
the
card
biggest
this card's
offender.
an enabler. All right, it enables the rest of the deck to be just bonkers, and like especially with Refreshing Spring Water, because then this card allows Refreshing Spring Water to draw 2 cards and then gain mana for you, and that's when it starts to become a problem. So yeah, I think this card is definitely due for a hit. are we gonna see Refreshing Spring Water and this card be hit? That's a question. But this card in particular is something that really changes the outcome of the game like dramatically. So yeah, I am running out of time, by the way. But I have like 5 minutes or so. So
All right, do we want to jump into Q&A then?
Sure.
I mean, if you want,
Because we only had one card left, but we've talked about Mind Render before.
Sure.
All right, let's jump into Q&A chat. This is your point in the stream, which you can ask us questions about Hearthstone stuff or not. Just keep it PG-ish or not. You know what I'm saying? Not weird. And we'll answer a couple of those, and then D-Money will move to his qualifiers, which we root him the best of luck, which he will win, and he will be entered into the Masters circuit.
Yeah, I'll win one day. Yeah, they're really tough, man. It's really tough when there's a lot of RNG moments that happen now, and a lot of powerful decks to choose from. So if you're not prepared for like one deck or like one lineup, then it's really tough. Like if somebody brings like a weapon lineup, if they bring like the weapon rogue and they bring Doomhammer Shaman, then sometimes you just lose because you don't have ooze in your list. Like if you're playing a control lineup, so you really have to think about like all the different possibilities. And yeah, sometimes you get unlucky. You have to win 9 rounds straight. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's a lot of Hearthstone to win.
Agreed.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, we're gonna answer a couple of them before we end here. But Warshack will keep streaming, I believe. So
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna be continuing on with the Hearthstone for today up until later, which I'm going to dinner with my papa and sister in congratulations of her basically completing her bachelor's degree.
Go Diva.
very nice.
Probably gonna go to this Asian street food place that has really nice soups, and they have pot stickers. So good.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, you're actually making me very hungry right now.
Dude, the nice like pan fried pot stickers that are just filled up, and then you bite them, and they've got the seared edges. Oh, just.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy.
How are you feeling about the level of created by in the game right now? Well, this most recent set had very little of it, or in comparison to previous sets, they have toned down created by quite a bit, but some classes just inherently have more. Priest, mage, rogue. Just they completely blow out other classes in terms of their ability to create additional things that it's very hard to play around. But if you look like warrior, demon hunter, hunter, you know, like how much created by do they have in those decks? Very, very little, like 1 or 2 cards max, right? And it doesn't feel bad when you're going against one of them because you kind of know what they're going to pick, and the pool that they're going to pick from and the way the card is designed, it's not terrible. But mage, you can just get this infinitely, like, you go Raise Dead into Scorpid, Scorpid into Palm Reading into Renew, Renew into Raise Dead into Scorpid. You're like, Jesus!
Yeah, you know, the thing is, Priest does it in a very obnoxious way. I understand. I play the class, I play against it. I don't like playing against it, and I play it. The thing is, like, Priest, I always say something like this, like, Priest has to do bullshit like that to deal with the bullshit of every other class. So next time you're taking it out on a Priest and you're saying, I hate Priest is the most annoying thing, think about how much stuff they have to deal with, all right? They're trying to contain everything. So the way that they can do that is by generating all these other cards. And, you know, sometimes you don't have time to generate these cards. Sometimes you just die. So,
which they all should. Dude, the class is just obnoxious. I mean, playing priest is fun. I will not agree that being the priest and just throwing random fucking shit everywhere every game is great. You're just like, found a Shadow Word Death. They played a big minion, seems good. But then you play against priest and it's miserable. You're like, they just created their 7th Hysteria and their 12th Scorpid. Guess they're just gonna Raise Dead and make more shit. So, I mean, it's just playing the deck very fun. Just playing against it's just obnoxious. It's just an obnoxious class, which doesn't feel good.
But it's really fun to be on their perspective and be discovering the things that make you the most sad. You know, they're like, okay, I have these 3 options. You're like, my opponent's playing Demon Hunter. I should pick the thing that makes him unable to play his cards next turn. You know, or like, you know what I mean? Like, or it's like, my opponent's playing Warrior. I should just, you know, pick this one because this is the most annoying for Warrior. You know, like that's exciting for the Priest player because they get to make those decisions every turn where it's like all the cards that are in their hand are what they specifically chose for you.
Aw.
Especially
orchestrated craft of most annoying picks it could get. Great.
I gotta go though.
Yeah.
We gotta.
Thank you for having me, Warshack. It was a pleasure to be on another Metabreakers podcast and to be with you guys, chat. I hope you have a wonderful day and an amazing weekend. And thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. No, thanks for having me. And yeah, it was good as always. And maybe next week we'll have another guest. I don't know. I also think it would be cool if we could introduce some segments into the podcast. One segment being like the spice of the week, and including like spicy cards for the week that we think could shake up the meta, something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I am down.
I could even I can make a voice. I can make a sound bite.
What?
Of like spice of the week.
What, you're gonna make a sound
like.
bite? Was it a sound bite?
Spice of the week.
I'm gonna make a sound bite. Yeah.
Okay.
And before I go, I just want to say spice of the week that I'm trying out today, that I think is gonna be sick in the meta against all these paladins and stuff, and even Rush Warrior is Nameless One and Priest. By the way, there you go. All right.
Have a good one, guys.
So yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for the podcast. Good luck, D Money, and see you later, Draco. Have a good one. Peace out, homies.
Peace out. You too. Hey, you.